Well, hello guys. Good to see ya. Um, it is November 23rd. Yesterday was my birthday, and it was a really cool birthday this year. Um, I had some coworkers went and decorated my desk and brought cupcakes in and made it made it a big deal, and I'm not used to it being a big deal, and that meant the world to me. Um, my chosen family made it a big deal, and that meant the world to me. To we went out to dinner, and then we went and saw this movie with Emma. What is her name? Emma something. I can't remember. Uh, B- Begonia or something like that. Yeah, Begonia. Um, that movie was absolutely bizarre. Emma Stone. Um, I'm not going to say don't see it. I'm just going to say it's weird. Um, I was so tired. We so yesterday I didn't really do much of anything. Um, I caught up on a lot of sleep, but Friday is pretty much when I celebrated um my birthday and got home from work and went to go lay down for a nap, and my chosen family was like called me and was like, I know you're gonna take a nap, but we were thinking let's go out tonight. And ordinarily I would have been like no, um but I'm like, oh, okay, so let's go. So we went, had dinner, and went to the movie, and I tried really hard to focus and stay awake during the movie, but man was it difficult. I was so tired. So tired. Weirdest movie ever. Anyway, it was a good birthday. It was a really good birthday. Um, and I am grateful to everyone that wished me a happy birthday and that were there for me, and it means a lot. It means a lot. Thank you. So, aside from that, I am going to continue with reading the book to you guys. My book, um, She Will Cry Out, She Will Sing. And last week I had read the first introduction. This week I'm going to read the second introduction to you. The second introduction is more professional. First introduction was very personal. So, without further ado, um, this is introduction 2. So it says narcissistic abuse is incredibly prevalent. I recently heard from Dr. Ramani Travasala on a podcast that 1/6 of the population is narcissistic. 1 in 6. Really think about that. That's petrifying. While I'm not a psychologist yet, I've had a lifetime of fieldwork, shall we say, with narcissistic abuse. The first introduction was personal. I'm going to attempt to make the second introduction more professional for those who need a clear overview of what this is and what it does to those who find themselves in the thralls of narcissistic abuse. I am extremely hopeful that this book will be required reading for all potential psychologists as well as current psychologists who are trying to better understand this. This book is not about the narcissist. This book is about the survivors of narcissistic abuse. There's a ton of literature out there on the narcissist. There is very little about the victims, survivors, warriors. Learning this, I became adamant that this book, my journey, must be shared with the world no matter the risks to me personally. This is much bigger than me. I can help. I know I can. So I will. I believe it to be my purpose. My story is unique, yet not. What I mean by this is that there are an incredible amount of overlap with the survivors/warriors out there who have endured lifelong narcissistic abuse. I am drawn to the narcissists and they to me. This is due to the conditioning I had as a child. Narcissism and narcissistic abuse were normal to me. I always knew I wasn't one of them, though survivors and warriors question if they aren't narcissists frequently. I knew I was different. I didn't have the vocabulary for what it was at the time, yet I've consistently found myself in familial relationships, workplace relationships, friendships, intimate relationships, and acquaintanceships with narcissists throughout the duration of my lifetime. I'm getting better about seeing it all. I still find them or they me, but I see them now. Maybe not at first, especially with family, but I'm catching on to the red flags and putting all of my healing work into practice. I don't do it perfectly, far from it, and that brings up those old feelings of shame because I can't always see it right away. Many of us survivors/warriors have a really difficult time with perfection. It hurts to not be able to pick up on all the signs which narcissists show right away, or with the narcissists who are more covert, in which it may be more difficult to see the signs. I'm extremely hard on myself about that, hence the perfectionism. It is important to note that at the beginning of this book, I knew the maternal figure was narcissistic in my firm opinion. I had no idea what that truly meant. Hold on, sorry. I had no idea what that truly meant, and there were so many other people in my life which I had not identified as narcissistic as well. I have learned and will continue to learn what all of this means for the rest of my life. I don't think that I will ever truly be healed, and I have made peace with that. It's okay. I will always be learning, but I always was. I don't like to see it. I don't like to admit it to myself, but I know my case in particular is severe. I have a lifetime of abuse to sift through and process. It's not my fault, but it's my responsibility to heal. This is but just one of the injustices which come along with narcissistic abuse. This book and the books to follow it document the progression of what a narcissistic abuse victim, survivor, warrior goes through when healing. It is quite unique in that respect, as I have never come across another book which does this from the moment of breakthrough. I also have a very unique perspective because of my background with trauma, as well as initially going to college to be a psychologist and earning my Bachelor's of Science degree in Child and Adolescent Development, and going on to acquire my preliminary credential in special education. I've never stopped learning about and keeping up with new information in all three areas: psychology, child and adolescent development, and special education. I am a lifelong learner, though I am now hoping to get out of teaching and into the world of narcissistic abuse as a career to further help both myself, fellow survivors, and professionals in the field of psychology. I do my best to include these perspectives throughout the books. It can be very difficult for me to do. When I am talking or writing about my personal experiences, it is difficult for me to see things clearly at all times. Oftentimes, I find myself needing to look at, quote, Jaren the child, and see her as a separate entity from myself. For example, there's a part of this book where I discuss a horrific event that happened to me in preschool. To fully grasp the ordeal, I need to remove myself from the equation. I see a little girl who is being horribly abused and terrorized by a lead teacher, with other adults complying. That angers me beyond belief. However, if I think about it happening to me, it is still difficult for me to see that I did nothing to deserve that treatment. I was a 3 or 4-year-old little girl. Of course, no 3 or 4-year-old would deserve anything like that. But due to the abuse, it is difficult to rectify that I, Jaren the adult, did not deserve that. This again was due to all of the messages of inadequacy and shame I wrestled with due to all of the childhood abuse. Whew. This has been the longest short journey of my life. As I write this, it has been more than a year and a half since breakthrough. Now it's been 3. almost 3.5. I have been through many traumas in that short time, all while attempting to process all the past traumas. It has been a lot. However, I'm committed to my healing, and you will know this without doubt, by the time you reach the ending of this book. The antecedent which led to my breakthrough was that I finally confronted the woman I had been in love with for over 20 years and asked her the things I had needed to and never could, and she broke my heart all over again. But this time it led to suicidal ideation. I had what I believed to be the dark night of the soul. I somehow picked myself up the day after we conversed and I began to write. The trauma timeline was something I had started, but I began to take it much more seriously after that day. It is important to note that at the time I had no idea what was happening to me. I knew it was something good, but I was petrified. Healing was absolutely foreign to me, though I had been trying for much of my life. Cognitive behavioral therapy did not work for me, and it is my understanding that it does not work for most survivors. We must have a trauma therapist who understands trauma thoroughly. It is important that they are trained in various techniques surrounding trauma, such as EMDR and narrative exposure therapy. I need to stress something of vital importance here. Aside from being a survivor myself, I have a narcissistic abuse support group that has over 2,000 members. I used to, I don't know. Which I run with other survivors who have become my best friends. We all want it to be emphasized that CPTSD must be entered in the DSM. Of course, we have complex trauma. How could we not? For a massive number of us, the constant stress and constant living in fight, flight, freeze, and fawn have caused horrific physical ailments, as well as psychological struggles. To not include CPTSD as an official diagnosis is a grave injustice to a huge part of the population. I am including a list of key terms to follow this section regarding the things I have been through and the key terms in narcissistic abuse and recovery. I'll go over those with you guys. Not tonight, but I will. I did not know these terms at the start of the book. These are the terms I've learned along the way by reading articles, books, watching YouTube videos on narcissism, attending support groups, starting a support group, and live interactions with experts. I am especially grateful to my friend Dr. Catherine Barrett, who has been there for me through this arduous journey of healing. I'm also unbelievably grateful to Dr. Ramani Durvasula. Her teachings, insights, and expertise have been invaluable in my recovery. I'm also I didn't put this in here, but Katie Gillis is someone else that I admire and am very grateful for. Sorry. Neighbor coming. Dr. Ramani Durvasula. Her teachings, insights, and expertise have been invaluable in my recovery. Every single survivor out there should read her books, watch her YouTube channel, and ingest as much of her wisdom as they can. It will only benefit them. Next, Dr. Ingrid Clayton. I believe we were probably writing our memoirs at the same time at one period of time. I reached out to her for tips and to show her my respect. She is one of the kindest and most humorous souls I've had the pleasure of meeting. Please read her memoir. It's so important. I included the information for it in the back of this book. There is so much information out there now on narcissism and PD, and much of it is false and not clear. Go to the experts. They will guide you. Most of all, my personal trauma therapist, who I call Abigail in these books. She made me feel safe. I could finally put it all down, and she helped me and continues to help me sort through it and make sense of it. I wish I could publicly sing her praises, but she must remain anonymous. I believe her to be one of the most brilliant therapists I've ever met, and I am forever grateful for all that she has done to help me. I grew up thinking the maternal figure and the faux father was selfish and devious. I didn't have the word for it back then. As I got older, the word narcissism just meant someone who was in love with themselves in my mind. I had no idea what it really meant. It's not Narcissus who fell in love with his image in the pool of water from Greek mythology. When I was a child, I would watch the Smurfs. Bear with me here. And I think I had it in my head that narcissism looks like Vanity Smurf. I thought it was a disgusting way to go through life. So when people would tell me that I needed to love myself, I saw it through a distorted lens. I thought loving myself made me vain and narcissistic at best, evil at worst, like Snow White's evil stepmother. You will venture through this journey with me as I grapple with what narcissism truly is, what self-love truly is, the differences between them, and there are stark differences. I was so afraid of ending up like the maternal figure or the faux father, and so many others who demonstrated narcissistic qualities, especially coming from so much generational trauma. This all has been going on for many generations. As a matter of fact, my grandmother told me something I feel is of great importance as I was writing this book. She was telling me about her grandmother and grandfather. She said she loved her grandmother very much. She remembered her grandfather as always being drunk, and her grandmother as always sitting and sobbing. They had somewhere around 14 children. He literally kept her barefoot and pregnant as often as he could. There has been such a long line of narcissism and trauma in this family, and it breaks my heart. Narcissistic personality disorder is about a high sense of self-importance. Most have no empathy at all. They cannot put themselves in anyone else's shoes. It's as though everyone else just exists as extras in their movie they call life. They want people to admire them, and they are attention-seeking. They don't care about or understand other people's feelings. They do not feel love. I saw a moment of this back when I was 19 years old, and the maternal figure drunkenly admitted to not loving anyone. Not me. And then she listed all of the siblings' names and said that she felt no love for them as well. I knew she didn't love me, but it was startling and terrifying to learn that she does not feel this emotion. Those with NPD wrestle with strong feelings of shame, and they put on a false show or mask to attempt to cover the strong sense of shame. I believe to them, shame makes them look weak. Very, very few of these individuals seek out therapy. The chances of them ever making positive, healthy changes in themselves are nearly zero. It is a sad, sick way to live, and the damage it causes to those around them is unforgivable, in my earnest opinion. I hope that this serves as an overview to what is to follow. I am still learning every day. This will be a lifelong journey. I am now proud to say that it looks like I will be returning to school for my master's degree soon. I will be able to help survivors in a more professional capacity. I am excited for my journey. I'm excited to be able to assist others through their journeys of recovery. I vow that as long as I am breathing, I will make this my mission. That's introduction 2. So next time, I'm going to go over the chronological trauma timeline. This is a beast, okay? I do not recommend trying this without a trauma therapist at all. I'm going to tell you what I did. Like, there were a lot of Post-its. There were a lot of index cards. It was absolute hell. And again, I do not recommend doing it without a trauma therapist. It is a lot psychologically. But I'm going to show you or tell you what I did to get there. Doing the chronological trauma timeline was imperative because I would have flashbacks on all kinds of different traumas that occurred throughout childhood and forward, but mostly childhood. But none of them led to one another in any kind of sequential order that made sense. So it was just flashback after flashback after flashback. It would be like 4 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old, back to 4 years old, 2 years old. Like, it wasn't cohesive until I did this chronological trauma timeline. So in this healing journey that I went through with narrative exposure therapy, it is probably the number one thing that needs to happen. Anyway, I've spoken a lot tonight. I hope everybody's doing well. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.